Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Juan the Yarn Addict and welcome to my variety show. So if this is the first one that you're making, well welcome. And if you've seen this before, well welcome back. I'm super happy that you're here. These variety shows are bits and pieces of what I already do on my channel, but all in one video. So for today's variety show, I am going to be making some cakes for a project, which I'm going to show you in just a second. I'm also going to be doing a hook review. I have some Temu hooks and some Temu knockoffs that I'm going to be comparing side by side. I'm going to bring the camera over the table. We're going to get a bird's eye view of these hooks and kind of play with them and see what are all the things. And then finally, I have a Whipping It with Juan session all in one video. So if this is of interest to you, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so already. And then of course, leave a comment or two. I would definitely appreciate the support and I do read the comments. So I have yarn in bins and in bags and I decided let's find another fun way to use the yarn, right? Because of course I could use the yarns just like this into other projects, but what fun is that if you can put it all in a cake? So that's kind of why I do this to begin with. My cakes work up into projects just like this. This is the modern rectangle granny. I absolutely love it. We are 3 cakes in and I have one other cake and that's it. So it's time to make more cakes. This cake here was given to me by Penn as a challenge. I reached out to her and I said, hey, I don't have time to do the challenge, but can I put it into my project? She said yes. And so here it is. So there's that. I'm going to set this over here and show you guys this one more time. So there it is. And I'm working this up with a 6mm prim hook. So there's that. And as far as the yarns that I have in tow to make this cake. So I have this basket of leftover yarns, browns, taupes, whites, and then of course I do have these little balls of like striped color. I have some variegated. I'm going to use all the things. Actually, I'm going to try and stay away from the variegated yarn, at least for this project here. I'm using all solid. So there's that. And then I have this big bag of leftover yarns. So when I complete a project or when I'm no longer needing that particular color, I put it in the bag with intentions on making cakes like this. And I have shelving in another room where I put all of these cakes. And so, yeah, I have some here and I'm going to be using them for this. So there's that. So I have this orange here. Is this safety orange? I think it is. Neon orange. So the way I do this, I used to count every time I cranked this handle here. I stopped doing that. So now I just wind until I can't see any more of the previous color, which was this blue right here. So as soon as I can stop seeing the holes here, that's when I stop with the color and I switch over to another color. And I really like contrast. I don't know why, I just do. So when I have a bright color on there, I try to find a darker color. And I think that's about it right there. So I'm just going to use my trusty little scissors here. I came prepared, I found scissors. There's nothing more frustrating than not being able to find a pair of scissors when you need them. So I figured before I press the record button, let me find the pair of scissors so I'm not looking all over the place. And so fortunately for us, I have been able to locate the scissors. So I'm just going to jump onto this gray. It feels like Red Heart Super Saver and Heathered Gray. It's very, very nice yarn. I do enjoy it very much. And as you can tell, I am mixing brands. So this is Loops and Threads Soft Classic, and this is Red Heart Super Saver. The only thing that I'm looking for is consistency with the weight class. So I'm using medium 4-weight yarn. So in my bins and bags, if I come across a DK weight yarn or a bulky 5, I will put that to the side and not use it because I want the yarn to be all the same weight. So as I mentioned, when the orange disappears, that's when I change the color. It gives us a nice solid layer, and then I move on. And I think we're about there. Yes, I think we're good. So now I'm gonna pop on a light color, which I have this pale yellow. It's like a cream color. Yes, this is Caron 1 pound. I love my Caron 1 pound. I have a whole wall of it up there, but I don't have this color on the wall, and I don't know why. Maybe I need to get some. There's always just cause or just reason to get more yarn, right? I love that for us. So the best part about this is that I'm having fun. When I cake up my yarn, sometimes it's a chore, especially when you have these half-used skeins and you're trying to just keep everything nice, neat, and organized. That part of it is a chore. But when you have these cakes, this is another Caron 1 pound. This is off-white. When you have the cakes like this and you decide to do something like this just for fun, that's when it gets very fun and very interesting. But when you have the balls like this, it just goes all over the place. Well, of course, I do have a yarn bowl, so I could use that. Actually, let me grab it. So here's my yarn bowl. Juan the Yarn Addict, Yarn Talk, and all the things. Earlier editions of my podcast was called that. Yarn Talk and all the things. So I think from here, actually we need a dark color. Let me just move this to the side. I'm gonna put this anti-pilling blue. It's a medium 4-weight yarn, so why not? Blue looks very nice next to yellow, in my very humble opinion, and so why not? Let's do it. So for this variety show, I'm only gonna be making 1 cake. Maybe 2. Did I just pull from the wrong side? Yes, I did. I pulled from the outside. That's a no-go. Let me just rewind. There we go. I'm going to rewind that and fix it. We want to pull from the center. Let's see here. There we go. That'll save us a lot of time, and it's very organized when your work doesn't move. So if you can keep the yarn cake in one place and then just wind like this, it saves us a lot of time. So again, I'm just going to wind until this medium part becomes solid, and then we're done. I think that should be enough for whatever it is that I'm working on here, because I think the further out I go, the more of the same color I'm going to need. I don't know. That's my first thought anyway. And it looks like we're just about covered. Yes, we should be good at this point. Yes, we're good. So I'm going to snip off there. And then I'm going to put on this Caron 1 pound in off-white. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Perfect. So even when I do my cakes in solid, my cleanup, my stash cleanup, I still do my loop just like that, because I never know what I'm going to need that for. I may pull this right out of stash just like this for a project and not for a scrap cake. But when I am using it for a scrap cake, all I do is just yank that out and make another slip knot there. There we go. Very nice. So just enough to cover a nice layer on the cake. And I like to look at the camera while I do this, because from afar it gives me a more accurate representation. Up close I can see through the holes, but from the distance it kind of looks very nice. Okay, so we're approaching the end. This arm is now touching the cake. So I think what I'm going to have to do is a shell. I need to do a shell for this. And I think, what do I think, Juan? I'm going to use this. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to use this, guys. Not right now, anyway. I think what I'm going to do is, you know what? I'm going to put some more of this blue on. I really like the way this shows up on camera, and maybe it's going to show up the same way on the hook. I don't know. We'll see. So this blue, just by the feel of it, it's giving me Red Heart Super Saver vibes, which I like very, very much. Do I have enough time to do 2? I don't know. Maybe just, I'll stick to my guns. I'll do one. That's a really, really nice cake. Okay. So from here, I'm going to create a belt to go around the cake to kind of tie everything together nice and tight, just like this. Let's bring it back so I can see the other side. Let's tuck it into that belt that we wrapped around the cake. There we go. Pull nice and tight. And let's pull this top off. Pull this off of the cake, or off the ball winder. Let's move that out of the way. Pat a cake, baker's man. Okay, so there we have it. Very, very nice. And I think this would be a great addition to this blanket here. So there is that. Okay, I'm going to place this on a brief pause and we're going to move on to the hook review. I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back. Everything is cleaned up and I'm ready for this hook review. So before we get started, I'm just going to show you what it is that we're reviewing. So I have these two hooks here from Temu. Here you go. And this one here is a 6.5mm Tulip hook. That's a Tulip Temu. And this one here is a 5mm. So I paid $11 for each one of these hooks. Now, I also purchased this from Temu, this entire set for $9. Okay, so we're going to look at them side by side. I also bought something similar. I think it's the same thing, but in a different color. I'm not sure. We're going to take another look nice and close. So this set here came with some notions. This set here did not. So we're going to look at that side by side. But then also, I have these other hooks that are similar in nature, all different brands. So I have a Clover Amore, I have a Knit Pro, I have a Clover Soft Touch, and then I have a Dots hook. So we're going to look at all this up close and personal next to these Tulip hooks. I have some yarn in tow, and we're just going to dig deep and look at these hooks and see if these are worth $11 or not. And then also, are these worth $9? And I think I paid $8 for these. So I'm going to place us on another brief pause over the table and we'll take the review from there. I'll be right back. Okay, so we are back. I have all the hooks laid out. So I have these Temu hooks. I have my two Temu hooks here, and then some comparable hooks here. All right, so first, let me grab a pointer. And I'm going to use a darning needle as a pointer. Okay, so let's do a close-up of these tulips. So this one here is a 6.5mm US letter K. And let's just take a quick look at the head of the hook. You can kind of see the bevel there. This section right here is called the bevel, and that's what's used to hold the yarn. This is the back. This is the front. The handle has a little ridge there. And this looks like it's printed on here. Let's see, what do we have on the back here? Tulip and Japan. Not sure if it's going to pick that up or not, but okay. And I believe this hook has the same exact thing on the back, Tulip, Japan. And this is a 5mm US letter H. Very, very nice. Okay. So now let's look at the same exact hook, but in Temu. So let me see here. Do I even have a 6.5? No, I do not. So the largest we got, wait, let's see here. 5.5, 5. Okay, so the largest we have here is a 6. So let me pull the 6.5 and the 6 side by side. This is what it looks like. Let's line that up there. So the Temu hook is slightly Wait, let's just double check that. Nope, it's the same exact length from tip to end of handle here. And then let's do this. It looks like it's the same length from the end of the plastic to the tip here. Okay. Now let's look here. So the head of the hook is very different. So this one here is the Tulip hook, and this is the Temu hook. So they look very, very different. Let's turn it over. As you can see, the Tulip hook has that bevel. This really doesn't have much of a bevel. Actually, it doesn't have a bevel at all. So in terms of holding the yarn, we're not really sure what it's going to do. I'm sure it's going to hold the yarn, but probably not as well as this Temu hook here. I mean, as this Tulip hook. Tulip, Temu. Okay. So now let's look at this 5mm with a 5mm Temu hook. All right. So again, same size. The head of the hook is obviously different, and of course no bevel on the Temu hook. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that the Tulip hooks are constructed much better, and they're suitable for what it is that we are doing here. Now, obviously all hooks can be worked up with yarn, but how much nicer would one be over the other with or without the bevel? So let me pull some yarn over here. I'm going to use a light colored yarn. And I'm going to use the Tulip hook first. Let's use a 6.5. I already know that this is going to go very smoothly. Yes. So it grabs the yarn perfectly. It's kind of what that bevel is for. It holds the yarn and pulls it right through. And it makes working your project very, very smooth. Okay. Now, I'm curious to know if our Temu hook will work the same way. Actually, let me use this Temu hook here. Okay. Let's see here. Now, I can tell you right now, the material, this metal, does not feel anything like this. It does its job, but it's not as smooth. And maybe I'm being hypercritical, I'm not sure. And there's a bit of a bite. There's not much of a slide through. When I crochet, you can kind of hear it. That glide back and forth. Let's see. Nothing. You don't hear it at all. So the material is clearly different, and you can kind of see the difference between these hooks here. Okay, now let's see how the blue hooks stack up against the red ones. So let's grab a 6mm Temu hook, and I'll put that back over here. And I can tell you that there's more of a finish on these blue hooks in comparison to these red hooks. This hook here gives me more of a brushed metal look, whereas this gives me more of a glossy look. As you can see there, there's more of a sheen on that blue hook. So maybe it will work up a little different, but I will tell you there's no bevel on that hook. So it's probably not going to be as smooth, but let's see. Okay. Very nice. So far, so good. No noise. But the hooking experience just isn't the same. I mean, you have to focus a little harder, whereas with our Tulip hook, you can just let the hook do the job. When I look for hooks, I kind of look for that bevel there, because I know that it's going to grab the yarn and just flow very, very smoothly. So, okay. I think for the price that I paid, excellent. These hooks are great. So for $11 for one Tulip hook, less than $11 for an entire set, I think this is a steal and a deal. Now, I'm being hypercritical because I'm trying to stack Tulip hooks next to these Temu hooks. And clearly they're very different. But for the amount of money that I paid, I think that is a bargain. Let's see here. Let me grab the clover hook and compare it to a Tulip hook. So we have the Tulip and the Clover More. So we have more of a handle here on the Clover More, slightly longer, but not by much. However, this Clover hook is longer in total. In general, it's longer, but not by much. So there's that. Now let me just match up the necks. So the neck is slightly longer. The total length actually is slightly longer than the Clover. So let's see how this crochets up in comparison to the Tulip. I've crocheted with this many, many times. No sound, very good, and very, very smooth. Very nice. Now the funny thing about it is that there is no bevel on this hook. No bevel. But it works up like a dream. And I'm not exactly sure why, because look at that. They look exactly the same. So how about that? The body of the hook reminds me of the Tulip hook, but the construction of the hook itself is very similar to a Clover or More. Now, the reason why this hook here is not as smooth as this hook is because this brushed metal is polished, whereas this is not. It's not polished at all, and it causes unnecessary friction on the yarn, as you can hear it. And I can put this on the hook, and you can't hear it. So there's that. Okay, now let's look at the Knit Pro. So this is a Knit Pro 6mm US letter J. So this is not brushed metal, but let's see if the construction is comparable to the Clover, and it is not. So you can clearly see that this is brushed metal, this is polished metal, and the construction is slightly different. The head is a different size altogether. Wow. Same height between the end of the handle and the tip. We have more of a point on this hook here. This is more bulbous and rounded, as you can see there. So let's go ahead and crochet with this. Now, the one thing that I did notice is that it's shorter, very short. And let's take a look at this. I can already tell you that I'm not too keen on the length of this hook. It's very, very small for me, but I would imagine this is great for someone with smaller hands. And I have to say that this hook crochets not bad at all. And I think it has something to do with the fact that this metal here is polished. It's not causing any friction whatsoever. You're not hearing anything, which is super, super nice. Now, I will tell you that I really rely on the bevel there to get me through my stitches. There is no bevel there. So trying to find the pathway to get through that stitch is very difficult. Yeah. So in terms of actual construction, working with this hook is a bit difficult for me. It may not be for others. I know the pencil holders may work with this hook much better than us knife holders. I'm not sure. Okay, let's move over to the Clover Soft Touch. Now, there's a bit of a bevel here. Not much, but you can see it. It's there. There we go. In comparison to the Clover More, clearly no bevel there, but there is one here, very, very small. And it's got this soft touch, hence the name Soft Touch. This is a 6mm US letter J. And let's do the slide. Okay, no noise, very good. And let's see how this works up. Very, very nice in comparison to the other Knit Pro. Now, the hook is slightly longer. This slid right out. This hook is slightly longer than the Knit Pro, but still short by all accounts. Let's see. Slightly smaller, but not by much. So maybe it's the same size. Let's see. Yep, same size. Okay, I was wrong. All right, so there's that one. And last but not least, we have the dots hook. Now I have to tell you, I'm slightly impartial to this hook because of the length of the hook. I like this part right here. I don't really care to have my hook in my hand like this while I crochet. Like this, because of how small it is. So let's frog this out. Let's go ahead and crochet with the dots hook. And I'll tell you right now, I know this is going to work up very, very nice. I've done many projects with this hook. Yes, this is very, very nice. Now, this is a brushed metal that's also polished, so it's a little bit of both. I do like it very, very much. Okay. So, again, it's one of those situations where there is no bevel, but the actual construction of the hook allows for easier workmanship with your projects. So it's kind of the case with this Clover and More hook. Now, it's brushed metal that's also polished. So there's that. But again, no bevel with these two. And it works up like a dream. Now, the head of both of these hooks look very identical, minus the fact that one is just brushed, the other one is brushed and polished. Very, very nice. Now, the length from the handle to the tip is virtually the same, but the actual length of the handle is very different. So there's that. Okay, so what are my thoughts? I'm going to tell you very quickly that I think that you're getting what you pay for. Okay, that's first and foremost. $11 for each one of these. I could have gotten them for a deal and a steal, but in a pinch, that's what I paid, $11 each. Now, I ordered these off of Temu, and the set, as I mentioned, significantly less for the set compared to one hook. So I think that these overall are good hooks. I think they do work. They do their job. I think that they're going to work differently for, you know, different people depending on how you crochet. And so, yeah, I actually am going to come out of this and say that they're good. They're good. I would say they're not the go-to. I would say stick with the tulips if you can. But out of all of the hooks, I would say these two right here would be the ones to go to, and then the tulips. So there's that. All right, so let me go ahead and bring us back up to presentation mode, and I'll see you in just a second. Okay, so I am back, And so that was a very interesting review. I've been wanting to do that for quite some time. I've been sitting on the hooks and I thought to myself, well, maybe now's the time to do that. So I'm glad it's done. And I will tell you, I think that is a good deal and a steal to get an entire set for the same price as one hook. So if you're a beginner crocheter and you're looking forward to getting an entire set and you're really into those tulip hooks, this is a great place to start. Otherwise, maybe just focus on getting one tulip hook at a time if that's your thing. But there are tons of great hooks out there. So there's that. Now for this WIP'n It section of our video, I'm working on this. So this here is ice yarns. This is Picasso, purple and black shades. And I have a bag here, crinkle alert. So I'm working through an entire bag. And I have the rest of this donut, and I have 4 to go. And this is the size that I have so far. So I'm not exactly sure how big this is going to be, but the plan is to work through this entire bag and then be done. And that way I can say I worked up an entire project with an entire bag of ice yarns, Picasso. So there is that. Now, I made no progress on this one since the last time I've shown it. Full disclosure, I have tons of other things on the hook that took a higher priority. Not by choice, but it's what happened. So that's fine. Now, yesterday, I believe, I can't remember, one of the videos I talked about having a pile of WIPs over there. This WIP was on the top of the pile. And so I knew that if I were to sit down and work on some WIPs on that pile, this would have been the go-to. So I'm working this up with a dots hook, a 3.5mm hook, and it is a dream. I absolutely love working with this dots hook. I love the length of the hook. I love the yarn with this hook. Now, I said this before. I would not work with Ice Yarns Picasso because it's got this halo on it. It's hard to frog, but I decided to try something out. Use a smaller hook. Maybe it will frog nicer. And lo and behold, it frogged beautifully. So I don't know if it's a me thing in terms of wanting to work projects up that frog easily, because I feel like if I don't like how it looks, I should be able to pull it out. And if I can't pull it back out the way that I crocheted it in, which is nice, smooth, and easy, then perhaps that's not the yarn for me. And so that was my initial reaction to it. And I said, you know, let me try a smaller hook. Maybe it'll frog out decent. And yes, that's exactly what this needed. So if you haven't tried a smaller hook with this Picasso yarn, I would suggest you try it. You might actually like it. So there is that. Now there are quite a few shades out there of the Ice Yarns Picasso. I have a few. I have a handful. I don't have many of the variations of colors. So I have the light rainbow. I have the dark rainbow. I have the purple. I have the blue. And then I have the khaki one. I'm not a huge fan of that one, but I have just one bag. I gave the rest of them away. So I'm glad they went to good homes. I mean, I think the recipients of those yarns were just glad to have Picasso yarn in their house. So yay for them. But for me, I'm like, you know what, Juan? No. You know, it just, that colorway, it looked nice online, but then once I had it in my hands, I'm like, it's just too blah. You know, this yarn here is my favorite of all of them because clearly the purple. It's dark purple. It's got black in it. Actually, not really. No, dark purple, medium purple, and like a cerulean blue. That's really nice. I don't know who this is going to be for. Initially, I was going to make this up for my mother, but she's not a shawl person. So maybe it'll be for Mrs. Maraca back there. So, I mean, every now and then she needs a wardrobe change. And so why not make things for Mrs. Maraca? So I do have 3 mannequins, 2 male forms and 1 female form. So we have a little rhyme here. If you haven't seen the past videos, we have Paco, Taco, and Miss Morocco. And I can't decide, is it Miss Morocco or Miss Morocco? It may be Miss Morocco because it rhymes. Taco, Paco, Morocco, but we throw the Miss in there because it's a... Yes, Paco, Taco, Miss Morocco. I don't know. It's got a little jingle to it. I'm not exactly sure if they're going to keep those names forever. We may change them up. I'm not sure. But I did take the suggestion of one of the viewers of the channel, and I put a little mark at the base, so I know which one's Paco and I know which one's Taco, because they're identical twins. They look exactly alike. And of course, Miss Morocco is different altogether. So Miss Morocco has black velvet. The other ones have just a gray fabric. So that's nice. And I'm actually very happy that I have them. It inspires me to create different things and put it on them and see what it looks like and make adjustments as necessary. So, you know, I treat it like as if I had fabric and I'm trying to alter my ideas by moving things around. So I love having them. And plus they make great showpieces to showcase work. So there is that. I don't know how far we're going to get with this WIP'n It section of our variety show, but I definitely wanted to get some hooking in here because, as I mention all the time, I have tons of WIPs. And as a person who loves to create and design, I'm surprised I don't have more WIPs than I already do. Not saying I should have more, but if I have more, I mean, I welcome it because I have to create, I have to allow my brain to push and just do the things, for lack of better words, right? So it's funny because when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I think about is, what can I create today? Even though I have tons of things sitting on different hooks, I'm still like, what can I create today? And it could be some crazy off-the-wall idea that makes absolutely no sense, but that's the fun part about it, you know? Not every idea comes to fruition, but sometimes it really does. And that's the best part about having ideas like that. Just off-the-wall ideas. Wow, I made it through an entire side. I'm loving that for us. Okay, let's turn over. Maybe I can make it to the apex. I have no idea. You know what I need to do? Off camera, obviously, but I need to spend like a good solid hour with this project to just get this donut done. For some reason, this donut in particular has been with me the longest. I don't mind having it as company, but I want it on the project. It's kind of the point, right? Anyway, this granny shawl situation is so simple. So the last stitch at the very end, you're putting 3 doubles, and then you're working the rest of the side up the way you would a granny square blanket. And then in the apex, this top corner piece I call the apex, you go into the chain space with 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, and you just continue working your project. It is so simple. It's, I mean, autopilot. You can sit here and just have a great conversation and just let your hands do the motions, or you can look at it like I've been doing, because the colors are great, you know, with this yarn in particular. Now, I recently did a nice yarns haul, and I have yarns behind me and off to the side. I'm trying to figure out a project for the one variegated yarn. Now, I could do the modern rectangle granny, because initially that was the idea, to work a modern rectangle granny with this variegated yarn and use like a black, like a Loops and Thread Soft Classic in black. Actually, I'm just going to show you. It's the variety show, so we can change it up whenever we want. So let me sit that there. So the yarn that I'm talking about, I'm going on a field trip. It's right here. Here it is, Crinkle Alert. So this is Batik Chunky. Let me take it out. Oh, this is soft. This is great. That's really nice. The thing is I don't want to jump into this project because I'm creating another whip. I don't mind whips. I really don't. Let's see. What am I doing? What am I even doing? Oh. Okay. So which end is which? Okay. So this here is classified as a chunky 5. Okay. So I have to show you this. You see this? This is a 5, right? This perfectly squared granny square is being worked up with yarn that is also supposed to be classified as a 5, but it isn't. I did the wrap test. It's a 3. Look at the difference in the yarn. Hold on, let me do this. You can clearly see the difference between the thicknesses of the yarn, and I'm not pulling on it, so there's no tension. Clearly this is much thicker, but they have the same yarn class, and there's no halo on this, so it's not like it's that. I mentioned in that video that it could be because the yarn hadn't bloomed yet. Sometimes when you wash wool, it swells up. Maybe that's the case, but we'll find out. It's 50 acrylic and 50 wool, so if it does bloom, it's not going to be much, at least what I'm thinking. I don't know. Anyway, I do love this. It's got the oranges, the yellows, the whites, the browns. That's lots of fun. What should I use this yarn for? Now I have 3 packs of this yarn. I have 2 packs of this yarn. So 1 pack has 4 skeins, and 1 skein has just 120 meters. Maybe I need to get more of this. If I'm going to make anything substantial with this yarn, I'm going to need more. So 120 times 4, that's 480. So maybe 500 and some change in yards. So I have about 1,000 yards of yarn here. It's not much. I'm going to need more. Perfect excuse to go shopping at Ice Yarns. Which, by the way, as I mentioned many times, I am an affiliate and I do have a link. So if you're looking to buy Ice Yarns, use my link. It doesn't cost you anything to use it, and it helps the channel out. So I think that's going to be all for this variety show. I hope that you enjoyed it. It's a little different. Each time I do it, I try to change it up a little bit. So bits and bobbles of this, that, these, and those. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget the things, the thummies, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and maybe share the video. All right, so for this one, that is all. And until next one, take care, friends. Bye.